Welcome to Week 6 of the Cincinnati Bengals Weekly Show, brought to you by Gridiron Mo, a new interactive football app where you get to call what you think the offense or defense should do during a live NFL game and see what everybody else has called also. So check out Gridiron Mo at www.gridironmo.com. I'm your host, Mike Goodpaster, and I want to welcome in my co-host, as always, former Bengals linebacker Joe Kelly.
Hey, what's up, Mike? Just getting back from Dallas, man. It was a tough weekend to be a Bengal fan, man, especially there in person and witnessing the annihilation of an entire team. I think we got beat in all three aspects of football: defense, offense, special teams. Not a happy guy right now, Mike. You know, Mike, I think I was so upset, Mike. I think I tried to call you and let's do a live radio broadcast at halftime. Just to say, like, what the hell is going on, man? It was bad. It was a lack of effort. I didn't see effort. Mike, there was no way that you could have ever told me, no matter if it was Dallas, their offensive line, that our D-line, I thought our D-line could match up against anybody in the NFL. And what I seen Sunday, I seen a total domination of what an offensive line could do to a defensive line, and that was mano-a-mano across the board. I think our D-line across the board for four quarters got handled. And if you thought that was bad, you thought our defensive line was bad, our offensive line was even worse than our defensive line play. You know, so it's a week, man. You go back to the drawing board. You know, you don't go in and say, hey, you didn't do this, you didn't do that. You're professional. You man up. You look in the mirror. You look back, look at what you did wrong. I think this week there's a lot of people that may be jumping off Who Dey Nation bandwagon. But, you know, if you're a die-hard fan, you understand football, and you know on any given Sunday, you know, if you don't come to play, those other guys are across the field from you. Those guys are professional too. They're professional athletes. They're highly paid, highly trained, highly skilled athletes. And if you don't come to play, Mike, what happened Sunday would happen to you. You don't. It's like bringing a knife to a gunfight. And the Cowboys were fully loaded with all kind of arsenals, and we came out with some putty knives, and it showed. You know, it was a bad day for us.
All right, Joe, it sounded like you've been planning on what you were going to say for a couple of days there. You just sounded pretty ready.
Right.
All right,
yeah.
we have another special guest. He was also a linebacker on the Bengals Super Bowl team, but it was for the 1981 AFC champions. Help me welcome to the grueling truth, Bo Harris.
Good morning. Good evening. How are y'all?
All right. How you doing, Bo?
I'm doing good.
Oh, great to have you on the show. I know you said
Absolutely.
You watched the game a little bit last week. I mean, what's your take on this year's Bengals team?
I think he just said it. It started up front, and it got worse from there. Didn't seem to be the intensity, or there wasn't the intensity on defense that you got to have to, you know. And Dallas does have an awfully good offensive line.
Yeah.
Some days, you know, you just get it handed to you, and it's hardly anything you can do to turn it around. And that was one of those days.
Now, Bo, I mean, if you're a Bengal, I mean, last year, I mean, 5 straight years they've lost first round of the playoffs, but last year was a little different. They lost the game in one of the most crushing ways you can lose a game. How do they get back on board, get the ship righted to the kind of team, the kind of intensity that they played last year?
You know, the intensity difference from last year, if we've already defined that as really being there overall for all games, I've looked at them this year, and I see that it's not quite the intensity level that they had. Of course, if you can go back and correct maybe some discipline type, or being disciplined, or being a disciplined player, the other things go away. Right. This seems to be a different issue with me.
Well, I think still, though, I don't know, Joe, you were there at the game. You watched the line. I mean, I think the thing that really concerns me about the Bengals is it's not the discipline where you're getting personal fouls. It's the discipline to do your job and be in the gap and control the gap you're supposed to.
Yeah. Mike, that's one of the things. I think it's hard. Bo, you may feel the same way when I'm watching a football game. It's hard. It's really hard for me to really watch the game as opposed to I'm watching the linebackers. I'm watching the D-line. Because I mean that's what I did. Linebackers, this is what we did. So I'm looking at those guys and I'm actually trying to read. I'm seeing the guards pulling if it's pass blocking. What kind of if the tackles blocking down. I'm looking at what they're doing to us and how we're reacting. So a lot of times I'm looking at that and I'm not really looking at everything else. But when you get whooped like that, that it's you can go back and those are one of those games that you just say, hey, you know what, you throw that in the back seat. It may not even be beneficial to look at the whooping on film. You go back to the drawing board. You look at, and it's about executing the defense. There was totally no execution of the defense whatsoever. I looked at the defensive end, Mike and Dunlap, on pass plays, which hey, they had almost had 200 yards. Our defensive ends, they're running up the field. They're inverting the line of scrimmage. So that defensive tackle who's trying to hold his position, that when your defensive end is rushing upfield, and the guy, the tackle's coming out of pass rushing, you're inverting the line of scrimmage. So rather than there being a 12-inch gap for this running back to run through, now then you're running upfield. So the tight end doesn't really you ran out of the play. So now you have, instead of that 12-inch gap, you have something that may be a yard and a half that you can drive a truck. I've seen a lot of Petco. I've seen those guys. You're trying to run around blocks, and Dallas they weren't doing anything fancy. I'm sure this is what you've seen all week in film study. They came out. They didn't do anything special. They didn't come out in any special formations. They lined up. They played. They utilized their strength, which is their offensive line. They played smash-mouth football. Our nose guards, our DTs were running around blocks. Our linebackers were running around blocks. We just didn't. Our safeties were not, filling the proper gaps. In this league, you have to at least be disciplined. You have to play disciplined football because that guy in front of you, that guy's pretty good. This guy's starting in the NFL. So anybody ever started in the NFL, you're pretty damn good. It doesn't matter. Hey, you can be on a team that's 2-14. But I tell you what, if you go and play that team that's 2-14, and you go with the lack of effort and the lack of intensity, I guarantee you that guy over you, that offensive tackle, that guard, that fullback is going to hand you your ass. And I don't care. What you think you can underestimate this guy. This is the NFL, man. Everybody's good, and when you look at you've seen a total lack of emotion. It's football. There's a lot of rules changed even from when I played. There was rules changed that but when you were playing, but now even these rules. I think the common denominator is it's still an intense sport. It's still intense. It's still physical. And we didn't have that Sunday.
Yeah, and the thing that I really noticed, and either one of you can speak on this, was just the lack of any adjustments. I mean, we're playing 6-7 guys in the box almost the whole game. I mean, they never walked the safety up. They never come with 8 guys in the box. I mean, it looked like we were more afraid of Dak Prescott throwing the ball than Ezekiel Elliott running the ball.
Yeah. What do you think, Bo?
Well, to carry on with what your conversation was, a couple of guys can really be having a bad day, and not have that intensity, and then it kind of spreads because it starts compounding itself, if you know what I mean. You know, you got a guy that maybe takes the wrong gap or he takes the wrong side. And, you know, you're making a mistake, and then they get 6 yards, then they get another 5, and they got another first down. It's just kind of like it just starts happening, and it's a snowball effect. And I think a lot of that may be just mental. A lot of that may be they got some pretty badass offensive linemen and tight end too. I saw Jason Witten swat down a safety, you know, like he was a fly when he hit.
Right.
I mean, right. So I mean, let's give them credit for coming out and doing what they were supposed to do, and maybe the Bengals learn from that and, you know, go on to a better day.
Yeah.
All right, so the next game, the Bengals go to Foxborough to play the New England Patriots. Joe, what are the keys to winning the game?
The main key is to leave whatever the hell you brought to Dallas, to leave it back down there in Dallas. Don't take that to New England. That's first and foremost. But, you know, like Bo was saying too, it's, you know, you allow things to steamroll. You know, you have a bad play, you run around the block, they get 6 yards, and they got 5, then they got 7, and you're wondering, you're trying to figure out what is going on, you know. And it's not like it's a total breakdown of defense. It's 2 or 3 players breaking down their assignments every play. You're looking at the safeties. We definitely have to go into New England and play disciplined football. We, you know, got controlled football. We have to stay in our running lanes, in our gaps. We have to stay in our passing lanes, because, you know, they got a special guy that came back and was AFC Player of the Week the first time, and this guy has not touched the ball since last year. And he played, he was Cleveland Browns, but still, you know, he came out, and I think he made a statement last week. You know, we're going from the pit to the fire, man. It's not going to be easy. We definitely, the thing that we can't do is get so down on how bad we played last week and bring that energy, that negative energy, that lack of energy to New England. Because if you don't, this thing can steam. This season can get away from you. You know, we're 2-3. You go up there and feeling sorry for yourself and feeling bad about how you played, and then next thing you know, hey, now you're facing Tom Brady, you know, and Gronkowski, you know, and their running back, which is he's about 250, you know, running 4.4, you know, so this thing can get really ugly Sunday if we don't get back and bring some emotion and some heart into our effort on Sunday.
Yeah, so you got a prediction for this game, Joe? 2 years we've never picked against the Bengals.
Well, you know what I'm going to say, you know, to you know, Bengal Nation, Bengal faithful. In 2 years, Mike, we haven't picked any other team than the Bengals. You know, last year, you know, we were correct 12 out of 16 times. This year and this week, unfortunately, man, I am going to go with New England. I'm going to go with Tom Brady, 4-time Super Bowl champ. You see, he got Gronkowski back into the scheme of things last week, and I say this not because I don't think we can play with them. When I look at the offense, I look at our defense. I'm looking at the breakdowns of the defense and what we're not doing. I'm saying, hey, we got these safeties. Our safeties are not getting it done. We really miss Reggie Nelson, who was, you know, you traded experience and a guy that's in the right place all the time for youth. And that's what happens. You know, hey, your guy gets older, you get 30, and now, hey, you can't play anymore, and hey, this guy may have a couple more years. And the Bengals, you sold to the youth, and now you're going to have to live with those aches and pains. And unfortunately, you're playing against arguably the best quarterback in the history of this game, in Tom Brady. And I think we're still in week 6. You know, we're still breaking down coverages. We're still not filling the proper gaps, run routes. We're still not in the right passing lanes. You know, our rush, our defensive line. You're not disciplined in your rushing lanes. You still, even in your rushing lanes, you have to keep contained. You gotta get the push up in the middle. You know, there's a lot of things you can't do that we're not doing and we're not executing. So when I look at our lack of execution defensively, a lack of executing the defensive scheme, I look at our lack of adjustments. You know, like you said last week, I didn't see any adjustments. There's no way, as a defensive coordinator or something, that I wouldn't say, well, hey, this guy, this rookie Ezekiel Elliott from Ohio State, this guy's pretty good. You know, this guy's pretty good. Hey, we're going to drop 8 in the box. We're going to mano-a-mano, and we're going to make Dak Prescott beat us. They're not throwing, 15-yard outs, comebacks. They're beating us with 5-yard routes, 7-yard, 8-yard, quick passes. That's their game. Witten, and short passes. And I'm going to put 8 in the box. We're going to make adjustment, and we're going to stop this run and make Dak Prescott beat us. We didn't do anything. We didn't just. And you get into a game with Tom Brady, and you don't make adjustments, Mike, it can get pretty ugly. It can get pretty ugly.
So you talk about the lack of adjustments and everything. The team started off playing with no emotion. I'm going to pose this question to both of you guys. I'll go with Bo first. Does there need to be a coaching change?
Bo?
And I'm far removed from that. But I think at a certain point, after a certain amount of time that you've either, and they have had their time before when they easily could have been without injuries, probably to the quarterbacks and a few other issues that they could have gone a lot. They could have and should have gone a lot further. And do you pin that all? Or do you stake the claim that he's been there for a while and he's done pretty good for most all the years? It's not a whole lot different from what we just went to down here in maybe LSU, maybe in a different way. Guy had a great record, but when it came down to it, what happened in the end,
Yeah, and it seemed like the last few years, Miles wasn't getting them to the next level the way he was before.
Yeah, and Joe was talking about playing the best quarterback in the deal. I said, I think you're playing the best coach next week. I mean, and they're not going to make mistakes, and they're going to, and for the Bengals to have a chance at winning the game, they're going to have to not make any mistakes. Then they're going to have to come through with a big play at the end of the game, somewhere down the line, that's going to make the difference because they're so specialized and they're going to come out with something. And you're just going to have to be able to come up with something to either stop them or to make a big play on offense that can win the game. Yeah. And if you make mistakes, if you do anything like you did last week, it's over from the beginning.
Yeah, the Patriots are a team you have to beat. They're not going to beat themselves.
Yeah. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Joe, any opinion on the coach?
Well, Mike, I'm not a fair weather guy, man. And I look at Marvin's body of work, and just like LSU, you have to look at Les Miles' body of work. But I think those are two different situations. There's been over a couple of years where you had the Alabamas that were because you remember LSU had recently won a national title. And now you see from winning a national title, and then you can see just how huge the difference is between what Alabama is doing and what they're doing. There's something like, wow, how did this happen? LSU didn't, win a national championship, 55 years ago. They just won it, 6, 7 years ago, something like that. So for Alabama, the gap that Alabama has put on, a lot of teams in the SEC, there was a lot of pressure, a lot of alumni pressure, and I think it's different here, at this level, at the NFL. I look at when you go out, understand Marvin wasn't getting his ass kicked. Marvin wasn't jumping around blocks. Marvin wasn't blowing coverages. Marvin. I hear a lot of people, talk about Marvin, and they want Marvin to be Mike Ditka. You want him to yell and scream. He's not a screamer. He's never been a screamer. We've been to the playoffs 5 years in a row. We could beat Cleveland. We've gone to the playoffs 5 years in a row. And Mike, most football people, I know, it's not a sore loser from how we lost last year. But in my opinion, if we have Andy Dalton last year, we're playing for the Super Bowl. I truly believe that. This year is different. Our offensive coordinator's gone. Two of our 2 and 3 wide receivers, are gone. We got rid of our veteran safety, and it's showing. It's showed up in every game. Us missing Reggie Nelson in there. Eifert's been out. We've missed Eifert. We've missed Burfitt for the first 3 games. So there's an adjustment. My thing is the season is not lost. We're 2 and 3. I think how Marvin gets this team prepared to play, like Bo said. I didn't even mention that he is arguably the best coach in the history of the NFL, in Belichick. So not only are you going against a guy who his team they're not going to make a lot of mistakes. When they get beat, they just get beat. You're going to get beat in this league. They just get beat because the other team just happens to play a little better that Sunday. He's not going to go out, and you're not going to see those guys just totally blowing defenses, like totally blowing offensive assignments. You're not going to see that. If a guy has blown an offensive line blew an assignment, he didn't really blow an assignment. He just got physically beat, and that's going to happen. I think Belichick is going to look at what Dallas did. He's going to exploit our weaknesses. He's going to exploit our safeties. He's going to exploit whatever he can exploit. I think Marvin's prowess is he can come in here and he can get his team to forget what happened Sunday. He can get his team prepared mentally and physically. We can go out there and we can, you're looking at what Zampese is putting together. You're looking at what Gunther is putting together. And now you got a head coach. You have a say-so in that. No, man, I don't think that's going to work. You need to light a fire under those coaches. And allowing Marvin the coach, he's allowing his coaches to coach. And this is going to be a test. Here, how do you respond when you go into a game that's your favorite to win and you just get your ass handed to you? And now we have to come back and we have a bigger challenge. Now we play on the road again in New England against the best quarterback, best coach. And if we go in this game and at least be competitive and compete, unfortunately, I just think that right now there's too much going on. We're not disciplined enough scheme-wise. I'm saying scheme-wise. Athletically and physically, we are able and capable of beating these guys. But, right now, I think, it's going to be another, 3-4 games until our guys are getting it. Our guys are in the right place. Our guys are, believing that they're as good as advertised. But unfortunately, Mike, I don't think this is the week. I think Belichick is going to have his guys ready. I think we're going to come up a little short this week.
Well, and my point is this. For the coach, I think Marvin's a hell of a coach. I think after a while, you just kind of been someplace too long. I wouldn't fire him. I don't want Mike Brown to fire him because I'm scared to death of what Mike Brown would put in his place.
Yeah.
We'll end up with Paul Alexander as our head coach, since he's the assistant head coach. They like to stay in their little clique there. So, and my thing is this, though, when you talk about the team scheme-wise not being disciplined, that's the coach. But I think the problem right now is this. I think that the end of the year has been the same for 5 straight years. And I just think it's becoming kind of stale, kind of like the Tony Dungy thing at Tampa Bay. Tony Dungy was a great coach. But it's just after a while, you just need to change the scenery if you've done the same job for too long.
Yeah. I could see both sides.
But I don't want him to be fired because I'm scared of what Mike Brown will do. So.
Yeah. I don't think Mike Brown. Bo. Of course, Bo. With you when you play, you're with Paul. More than Mike.
No, actually, Paul. He was the acting, but that was transition time.
Yeah.
So was
actually,
the transition
my first year,
when he gave up being the head coach?
My first year, my rookie year with Paul was the head coach, and then with the general manager, and then he kind of transitioned out a little bit later, and obviously still there, but bringing more of Mike in.
So you played your first year under Paul Brown, considered one of the greatest coaches of all time. What was it like to play for him?
It was really a great experience because Paul's secret was to just surround himself with the best people possible and let them do their jobs. Bill Walsh was the offensive coordinator.
Wow.
It was really pretty special. Our defense really didn't get to the level of excellence until we brought Forrest in and Hank Bullock came in. Hank to me is the doctor of defense. That was his nickname, but he started all this stuff, and I'm looking at people playing a 3-4 now, and I'm going, man, if they only knew.
Right.
But what the difference was, in '79 we were a 4-12 team, and then Forrest came in '80, and we became a 6-10 team. But then in '81 we became a 13-3 team, and went to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and I think
really the only difference, it was pretty much the same people. The only difference was discipline and attention to detail and being maybe a little more reckless, but not making everybody doing what they're supposed to and doing their job and not making mistakes.
Right.
Yeah, and me and Joe have had these discussions a lot about the '88 team and the city and the way the team was, and I know that when I've interviewed like Kenny Anderson, Reggie Williams, guys like that from the '81 team, and it seems like it was kind of the same thing where the team was really close-knit, and the city went crazy both years.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And I'm sure Reggie can give you a really good, a better example of how all that, because he went on to do the second Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of things that have to be combined. It's not just coaching. It's not just players. It's you got to add it all together. The chemistry of the coaches, the management, the players, and how all that meshes. There's so many things that have to kind of go right.
Yeah.
And when you get that, it's special. And sometimes when you don't, it's frustrating. And at other times, at worst, it's miserable.
Yeah. Hey,
So,
Bo, did you? I regard when I came in, I was a rookie in '86, so Reggie was there, but Forrest Gregg was gone and Hank Bullock. No, Reggie. There's one story where Reggie said that you guys lost, and I think it was a Christmas game. The season was over. You didn't make the playoffs, and after the game, Forrest, he didn't really come in and say too much. He just walked in there, looked at you guys, and he just said, "Merry Christmas," and that was it. Yeah. Oh man, that was classic. He had some classic, Forrest Gregg stories, and Hank. Hank, man, Hank was a tough guy, man. He was a tough guy.
Well, Hank was so beautiful because, he'd get in your face, but you had to get right back in his face.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't carry a chip on his shoulder. But he appreciated so much being a student of the game, I think, and
yes,
really the knowledge part and understanding the whole total concept. And I think if there's anything different I see, or not maybe different, but maybe lacking, no question. The athletes today, I was a 6'3", 220-pound linebacker. Couldn't do it. These guys are physically so much faster and bigger.
Okay.
But I don't think there's the same. Okay, I will not make a mistake in this game. I will grade 90% plus.
Right.
When it's all said and done.
Yes.
And so, if I see a difference, maybe that's it. But
I think I'm with you too, Bo. I see physically, these guys, we didn't have them when I came in '86. We had Ross Brown or Eddie Edwards. Those guys were 6'4", 270, 265. Linebackers. I was 220. But I could run. That's one thing I do. I could run. But like you said, it was tackling. It was knowing your assignments. And going out and when you looked at the film, you did grade high, even if you lost. You graded high. It was all about doing your assignments. I do see, and I think as far as physically, some of these athletes are more gifted than us. But I don't think they're better football players than us. I don't see it. A linebacker is linebacker. If you played outside, you played inside. There's some different things that they're doing. It's more of a pass-happy league, but linebacker's still linebacker. And I can tell you, if I can look at this guy and can tell you, this guy, because you're still reading. You're reading the scheme. You're still reading the guards. You're still reading the center. You're reading the tackle. You're reading the fullback. Well, most teams don't use a lot of fullbacks, but you're still reading. You're still reading. You do film studies, so you understand what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
First and long, first down. Second and short, second and long. Third and short. You understand their tendencies, and I just see so many guys. The tackling is atrocious. It's you see a lot of bad football. And this guy, this linebacker, he may be 6'4", 260, running 4.5, 4.55, but tackling is atrocious. How he runs to the ball, the effort is horrible. So you look at some of the schemes, and Ray's just talking about, hey, force. You're not going to lose because of effort. You're not going to lose because of you don't know what you're doing. You won't be out there. You took pride in your effort. You took pride in understanding and at least being in the right place at the right time, being where you're supposed to be. Which is in essence executing the defensive scheme. And I just don't see that these days.
Yeah, but Joe, don't you think the lack of tackling would probably be the concussion issue and the lack of tackling in practice?
Well, I don't know if I can use the word. I think Donald Trump used the word last week. He got it on tape. With football. Because you go out there. And I'm at, Bo, I don't know if it's the last time you've been to the NFL training camp. And it's training camp. And
it's nothing like it used to be.
It got too hot. They said it was too hot. And I'm like, are you serious? The practice is over. It is too hot. It's Cincinnati. It's the summer, but it's not Austin, Texas. You know, I've been down to Austin, Texas, in August, where, you know, it's 110 degrees with 100% humidity. You know, I've gone and scrimmaged against the Cowboys, and I've gone to a morning practice, and I weighing 232, and after the first practice, I'm 218. That's hot. You know, now you get too hot, you call off practice. You know, if they have something on the shoulder pad that, you know, if you, like a Fitbit, you know, if you have done, you know, too many steps, or if you run a certain amount, you know, they pull you out.
So basically what you're saying is the NFL mirrors society, because society is a lot softer now than it was even 15 or 20 years ago.
Yeah, I just, you know, I don't know. I just can't use the word that I want to use. But,
that's why I said soft. I'm trying to give you an out here.
Yeah. Okay, yes, soft. You know, Bo, what do you think?
Yeah. You know, I've kind of thought that before, but, you know, I don't want to sound like some, you know, old timer that knows what he's talking about and all these young bucks and all that. But, you know, you take a look at, one year we have Homer Rice, and the next year we have Forrest Gregg, and we open up our first practice with 75 up downs. Dude, you got an impression made on you right there. You know,
right there.
Right. And it's like, hey, this is a different deal, and you know, that alone, you know, changed a lot of tone. You know, and if you don't want to do that, and if you want to be the word we're not saying, you know, then you know, haul your ass.
Right.
It's that easy.
Yeah, exactly.
But, hey, Bo, it was great to have you on the show. Would love to get you on one of our Legends show and just sit down and talk about your career. Coach Bola, Coach Gregg, LSU. I think you played for Charlie McClendon at LSU, didn't you?
I sure did. And, by the way, I talked to Forrest on Sunday. And
how's he doing?
He's doing well, man. He's doing well. He's, you know, he's got health issues like a lot of us and a lot of people, but he sounded good, and happy to talk to him.
Yeah, right. That's awesome. Man.
All right. Well, once again, we really appreciate you coming on with us, Bo.
All right. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks, Bo.
Thanks, Bo.
All right.
All right, Joe, any final words that are not used by Donald Trump that you can say on the radio?
Right. You know, man, it's going back to the drawing board this week. It's you know, you're searching, you're looking, and as a man, as a professional, you want to look your teammates in the eye and say, hey, you know what? I'm going to do my part. I'm not going to say what you didn't do or what this didn't happen. That I'm going to look you in your eye, and as a coach, you're hoping that here we're going to man up. We're going to be able to look at each other in you know, face to face, mano a mano, and say, hey, you know what? We blew it last week. We didn't get it done. You know, so I'm not going to say it's going to be a monumental upset if we go up here and we beat New England. I don't think we need just this heroic Superman type effort to beat New England. New England was shut out a couple weeks ago,
but without Tom Brady.
Without Tom Brady, you know, but I still think there's you got Gronkowski. You know, it was going to definitely pose a problem. You know, everybody else, you know, their running back and Ezekiel Elliott. Who do you want? You know, I mean, you faced a great guy last week, so it's not like you're facing somebody that is so monumentally better than Ezekiel Elliott. They're wide receivers. You know, Dallas wide receivers, New England wide receivers.
Dallas wide receivers are nowhere near New England, just because you got to include Gronkowski and Bennett, plus you've got Julian Edelman. I mean, Dallas without Dez Bryant should not have been able to do that to us, Joe.
No, they shouldn't. But you know, then I think the plus, if there is a plus for us this week, Mike, is the fact that we're not playing the Dallas Cowboys offensive line.
Yeah.
So the thing is, that front four can get it done. And if they can start off this game and you can apply pressure, because if you let Tom Brady sit back there like Dak Prescott did, then you're going to get beat by 3-4 touchdowns, easy. But I think our D-line they're going to have to play up to their potential.
I think the only way they win the game is to be able to get pressure with just those four. You can't really blitz Brady, I don't think. If you can get to him with your front four, you've got a chance.
Yeah.
That's what Denver did to him last year in the championship game.
Yeah. But, Mike, the thing about it, our defense can score. We have some issues. I don't know. Is Eifert did he get a pass?
No, he might. Even if he's able to go now, he might get hurt tomorrow.
Right. So we don't know. So it's going to be tough. Our red zone offense still is terrible. I mean, last week we didn't really get to the red zone. So
on the bright side, though, I think we get to play Cleveland next week, don't we?
Well, hey, let's look forward to that. But
there you go. So let's not even think about this New England thing. Whatever happens, we'll come back next week and talk about the Browns and the Browns rivalry. Which I don't think there's been a Bengals-Browns rivalry since you left the Bengals.
It's been a long time. A long time, and it's unfortunate because that was a really good rivalry.
Well, I think that rivalry died in 1991, probably with Paul Brown.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much.
All right, guys, remember to check us out we're posted every Thursday morning on thegruelingtruth.net. You can hear us on iHeart, iTunes, Spreaker, Stitcher, TuneIn, Google Music, pretty much wherever you find sports radio, you'll find The Grueling Truth. So, for Bo Harris, Joe Kelly, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.